I've started recording. So, Yoti, take it away.
Okay. Okay. Okay, you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll get started. Okay. So hi everyone. Today we'll continue with our previous session, which was S3. I'll cover one or two more labs on S3. Today we'll also study how we can create bucket or deal with S3 bucket using AWS CLI commands. So I'll talk about few basic command of deleting an object, copying object from one bucket to another bucket. Okay, and then we'll move to introduction of EC2 instance. Okay, and recently EC2 completed its 15th birthday. So 15 years ago, EC2 was made available for users in beta phase for testing. So that's a fact which I got to know via LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is also good for these information. Okay, guys. So let's do a little bit of recap because our two sessions for today, they are linked with S3. So in previous session, what we studied is like, what do we mean by S3, which is simple storage service, what kind of objects we store in it. So we got to know it's like it does storage in as an object. Okay, it's not storing your uh, things in a form of block, which EBS, which we'll study about it later, wherein you'll study, okay, the data is stored in the form of blocks. But while studying about S3, we also studied about a concept which is like multi-part upload. So though whatever we are trying to add in S3, it is added as a complete object, but there are times when their object size is little huge. Maybe it's like 50 GB, for example. So what S3 does is it divides it into 10 GB blocks, and then it uploads. Okay, but ultimately when the object is stored, it is stored as a complete object. Okay, then we studied about versioning. So what exactly is versioning? It is you are saving variations of an object. Okay, maybe you created a file and that file had some employee name, but after 1 or 2 months more employee join your organization, you went ahead and updated the file. So this is how you can store objects in S3 by enabling versioning. One more advantage of versioning which we studied in our last session was that if you happen to delete something from S3 accidentally, and if versioning is enabled, you can always restore it. So we did one example, and it is very similar to how it happens on your system, that whenever you create a file, you save it and you delete it, it goes to a recycle bin, right? Now, when you from recycle bin, you delete that object, it again comes back to your original location, gets restored. So similarly on S3, if you want to have similar functionality, you can enable versioning. Okay. Then we studied about the storage classes. So we know that yes, with AWS we are getting a lot of services, but we need to use those services very judicially. We have to think about the cost as well by using these services. So we studied about 5 6 storage classes which S3 gives us, like standard, intelligent tiering, glacier, deep glacier. And we knew that we saw that as we go from standard to 1A to intelligent tiering, or so what happens is your storage cost reduces but your retrieval cost increases. Why? Because for example in deep glacier you are going to store a content which you'll be using once in 12 years, for example, or once in 5 years, some cricket match. Okay, so for retrieving those data, it takes around 12 hours. Okay, so S3 says or Amazon says, okay, for storage I won't cost you that much. Okay, it would cost you very little, but when it comes to retrieval, we are going to cost you little higher. Why? Because they'll find out that data from historical data for you. Okay, then we also studied how you can manage, like for example today your employee joins your organization, that time you would need his data, right? You'll be asking him for a lot of data, offer letter, appraisal letter, this, that. Okay, that is like a very handy data which every department of an organization would be accessing. But after 1 or 2 months, we are not going to access that document. There would be some another employee and will be focused on that employee. Okay, so in these cases, it's very important to move your objects from one storage class to another. Again, why we want to move the object from one storage class to another? Cost is the factor. Okay, so we created one life cycle rule, and wherein we decided, okay, what we need to do with the current object. If we have enabled versioning, then what we need to do with the previous version. Also, we studied, okay, if you want, if your object was uploaded on S3 using a multi-part upload, and due to some reasons that upload was partial, so using lifecycle management, you can delete such data. So now manually, you don't have to do anything. You just need to create a rule, and based on how, like, if you say, okay, after 30 days, your object should move from standard to a deep glacier, for example. So once the 30 days is over, your object would move to the respective storage classes. And one very important storage class which we studied last time was intelligent pairing, wherein user is not sure about the retrieval pattern of that object. We don't know if, for example, this session which we are doing, same example which I gave last time, maybe now people don't need these videos, or people are not looking for such content. Okay, maybe after few months they might need some similar kind of a content, and then they'll go and they'll search. Okay, so in that case, when we are not sure what would be the retrieval pattern, we'll choose intelligent tiering. Now AWS will take care of whether it has to move it to a standard, or it has to move it to some other storage class. Okay, any doubt, guys, till now with the previous session?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so let's move to today's topic, which is S3 replication. Yeah, so S3 cross region replication. So it's another feature of S3, which is the best example with which you can relate is, for example, you have a production environment and you have a test account. Okay, so you want to ensure that whatever, suppose something was done in production because of some application bug. Okay, there was some changes done in S3 objects. So you want that to be copied to your testing S3 bucket as well. Okay, now there's one way manually you can do the copy, or you can do it through cross region replication. Okay, yeah, so replication enables automatic asynchronous copying of object across Amazon S3 bucket. So here regions could be within your account. For example, the account which I have, I can have two regions, Ohio and North Virginia. And if I create something in North Virginia, I want it to be copied to the bucket of Ohio S3. Okay, or it could be across account as well. So yeah, so as I told you, by default, replication only supports copying new Amazon S3 objects after it is enabled. For example, I have created a test bucket and I have created a production bucket. Okay, so when I enabled this cross-region replication, the test bucket already had 10, 12 objects. Okay, now if I enable the cross-region replication, now these 10 objects won't get copied. Okay, but if you want to get this copied from one region to another, then you have to contact AWS support guys. But by default, what is in your control is, after enabling cross region replication, whatever you add to your bucket, test bucket, it would get added to your production bucket. So now what are the prerequisites? There are this simple prerequisites is, when you go ahead and create a rule, replication rule, you need to specify your destination bucket and a rule, because as I told you that to do anything on AWS, you need to have a rule associated. Okay, so when this replication rule would be created, we are telling, okay, the source bucket is going to assume this rule which we have specified. Using this rule, the content from my source bucket would get copied to my destination bucket. I see something in chat. Is it pertains to BCP process? Vinod, what is BCP? Sorry, I don't know. Yep, kind of. Now, when to use cross-region replication? Yeah, so let's see, meet compliance requirement. Okay, So although Amazon S3 stores your data across multiple geographically distant availability zone by default. I told you, right? So how does S3 maintains availability? So we store it in one region, but what it does, it creates replica of that object. And we don't know where exactly it is storing, but we know that, okay, whatever we are going to store, it is going to store it in more than 3 availability zone, right? But there was one special storage class wherein one zone, remember, wherein there was just one availability zone where your object would get stored by default. Okay, so this is what saying, yes, Amazon would take care, it would ensure that your data is saved in a different availability zone, so that if something happens to one availability zone, they won't affect in other areas. This is how Amazon is able to maintain 99.11 times of durability. Okay, but still, if there is some compliance requirement, okay, if your application is being used by client in Europe, okay, and they want that their data should be stored in the region which is very close to Europe, and then there are certain clients who are accessing your application from India. Okay, so now what you'll do, you'll create a multiple bucket, and whatever you do in a bucket of one region, it would get copied to a bucket of another region. Okay, with this we are able to ensure minimum latency also, because what would happen now, if somebody is connecting to our application, they don't have to, I mean, application is not looking for data in the suppose Asia regions availability zone, right? Then there would be some latency. But if we have created a similar bucket in a region very close to where from where we see maximum user base, that time you'll see a minimum latency. Okay, so I'll just read it again. If your customer are in two geographic location, you can minimize latency in accessing object by maintaining object copies in AWS region that are geographically closer to your users. Okay, and third is increase operational efficiency, which is if you have compute cluster in two different AWS region that analyze the same set of object, you might choose to maintain object copies in this region. So in short, it is saying that you are maintaining a replica of your object, and for that manual intervention is not required. You just need to create a rule, replication rule, and whatever you do in bucket A, it would get copied to your bucket B. Okay, so let's do a lab for say. Before that, I see something on chat again. For additional cost to enable. Oh, that's a good question, Vinod. I didn't pay attention to the cost part. I'll check and I'll get back to you. Like whatever document I refer, I didn't hear, because ultimately you're just copying the data, so the storage cost would be there, right? See, instead of storing in bucket one, you are storing your data in two buckets. So I'm assuming yes, it would cost you because you are occupying some storage space. But how much it cost, that I'm not sure of. But logically, it would cost you. Okay. Yeah. So let's do one example of cross-region replication. Okay. So I'm here. Let's create a source bucket. Okay. Let's take North Virginia. Okay. My source bucket. Okay. Okay. See, what was the prerequisite to have a cross-region replication? It was to ensure that both your source bucket and destination bucket have versioning enabled. So I'm going to enable the version. Okay, that's it. Oh, my source bucket. So see, right now I have not enabled any cross-region replication. So I'm going and adding one object. Okay, this is the file one which I've added. Okay, permission just doesn't matter, but still I'm enabling it. Now this file is added. Okay. We'll go ahead and create another bucket. Destination. I had picked North Virginia there. Let me take Ohio. Okay. I'll enable this. And yeah, so I've created two buckets in two different regions. One is in North Virginia and another is in Ohio. Okay, so consider it, one is your test bucket and another one is your production bucket. Okay, so let's take this bucket and create a replication rule. So how do you create a replication rule? You go to management, replication rule, create a replication rule, name it anything. Let me name it etc rep 1. Okay, by default enabled. So this is your source bucket. It is available in this region. For now, I'm applying it to all the object. Okay, here you have to choose the bucket. So you see here two options. You see option to choose bucket in this account, and you can specify bucket in another account. Okay, so now for this demo, I'll pick choose a bucket in this account. Okay, so let's go ahead and browse. So my destination bucket is this. Okay, as I told you, you need to create a rule. Okay, so I'll just say create a new rule, and by default it would create a rule for us. After that, if you want to have any other option, this is an interesting option, which is replication time control. So here you can specify, okay, in how much time the replication needs to take place. So Vinod, if a user would go ahead and enable this, he or she would be charged additional. So whatever you'll do here, which I can see from their text, it would cost you. But till now, if we are choosing default, I think we are not going to get charged for creating the replication rule or enabling the replication rule. Will be charged only for the storage. Yeah. So let's go to my, so source bucket has this object, but let's go and see in the destination bucket. Do you see anything? No. But now if I go ahead and add a object to my source bucket, you'll see data getting copied in the destination bucket. Okay, so let's go ahead and do it. Source bucket, upload, add a file, file 2. Pronounced. So if we would have created rule correctly, then this should get copied to my destination bucket. Okay, so let's see. It's not copied. Refresh. It's taking time. It's wrong. There's something wrong. Wait, let me check. I'm just deleting this because there is some issue. This is enabled. Okay. Final time. Let me just refresh and see. There's something wrong. Okay, let's do it again. I'm just deleting this for now. Okay. Let's just revisit our replication rule to see if we've made any mistake. Yeah, this is enabled. Destination is my destination. Ohio. Okay. Entire bucket, same as source. Yep, it should get added. Let me try again. Check. Please, with permission, I would have done something. Impact destination. It's not getting uploaded. See, see anything here. Yep. Okay. So now you see that whatever was added in your source bucket, it got replicated to your destination bucket. Okay. So now, oh guys, excuse me, I'm just getting. Yeah. So this is how you enable cross-region replication. Okay. Let's do it once again. Just revise because first time it didn't work. Okay. Yeah. So what did we do? We created two bucket in a different region. Okay. And one more thing to remember is, see, since S3 is global service, it's global, right? So whatever you've created in any region, you can see it. Okay. You don't have to filter by a region. So the next service which we are going to talk about, like EC2. Okay. Till now, whatever we studied, IAM or S3, we saw it's a global service. There, you don't need to specify any region. Okay. But with EC2, etc., you need to select a region. So here, this is set to global, and you can see the bucket which has been created in different regions: Asia Pacific, US East, North Virginia, Ohio. Okay. Yeah. So coming back to our original topic, which was cross-region replication. So what we did, we created a source bucket, we enabled versioning on source bucket, then we created a destination bucket, uh, and we enabled versioning in the destination bucket as well. Okay, after that, we went ahead and we picked our source bucket and created a replication rule there. And we specified what is my destination bucket. Okay, and we saw two options. So you can add you can copy data from one S3 bucket to another S3 bucket in either in same account, regions of same account, or in different account. So for practice, we picked same account, okay, but region was different. Okay, so after creating the rule, we uploaded another file in our source bucket, and we saw same thing got added to our destination bucket. Okay, we didn't have to do anything manually. It was automatically it got added. Okay, so this completes our topic on S3. Okay, after we complete this webinar, we'll be doing 2-3 projects. There we'll again come back to S3 because we are going to use S3 for our storage. Okay, so I would request all of you to go ahead and revisit this session again. So we had two parts. In first part, we talked about in detail about different sub resources of S3, which was replicate your storage classes. Okay, also we studied that we can use S3 for storing your static content, and we did one exercise as well. We talked about versioning, we talked about lifecycle management, and then today we saw how you can copy data from one bucket to another bucket, which is available in different regions. Okay, now whatever we did till now for S3, we did it through web console, right? But if somebody wants to programmatically create the buckets, copy the content, delete the content, okay, so how you can do it? It's by using your AWS CLI. Okay, uh, before that, let me just share a little theory on the replication. So do go through this. So all the content which you're seeing in this slide is from the Amazon documentation itself. So for replication also, if you go to this link, you'll see in detail, they'll tell you why you need to do a replication, then why you need to do a cross replication, what are the prerequisites, like when to go for cross replication. Okay, they'll tell you about these scenarios. So this is that page which gives you more detail on cross-region replication. Okay, so yeah, then if programmatically you want to do it, and then this which I was telling you, that by default you can copy in the same account, but you if you the data gets copied after replication is enabled. So anything which you have added before enabling the replication, for that you need to reach out to AWS support center, and you need to provide all these things to them. Yes, Vinod. So that's what I was telling you. You won't be able to do it. The old data you won't be able to replicate. For that, you need to reach out to AWS support center. Okay, and you need to provide them these details. But when we enable it, we do it like after the replication, whatever you add would get copied. Yeah, so just go through this document by use replication, when to use same region replication, cross region replication, requirement for replication, okay, troubleshooting in case if there is issue in the replication. So you can go through the document, you will find more detail as what I have shared. I've just shared the summary or crux of this page to you all. Okay. So let's move to our second topic, which is installing AWS CLI. Okay. There are two versions of CLI. There's version 1 and version 2. So whatever I've done it with the latest version, which is version 2. And this is that page which gives you how you need to do the installation. So let me share that as well with you. So whichever way is convenient to you, you can go ahead and perform the installation. What I did, I'll share with you guys. So I just performed these 4 steps. Okay, I copied the installer, this package, and then I installed this package. For me, I had to use a sudo. Okay, maybe for you guys, you might not require a sudo, but yeah, just check and figure it out. Okay, and after it's just 3-step installation process. Okay, these 3 would enable the installation for you, and the default location where this gets installed is this user local AWS CLI. Okay, and if you want to check whether the installation is correct or not, you just write which AWS. Okay, so it would give you path something like this. Okay, it's a symlink. Okay, or shortcut as you create in desktop. Okay, so original is this, and this is your shortcut. Okay, what else? Yeah, you can check using AWS version. So it was just 3-step process. Yeah, so you see something like this, which version I have installed, 2.2.33. Okay, so this documentation gives you a method to install specific version as well. If you guys have Python in your system, okay, then using pip command you can do this installation. Then you don't need to install the package and do all these stuff. Okay. Okay. Yep. So let's study those command and then we'll perform it. Yeah. So using AWS S3 CLI command, you can create a bucket. You can list the bucket and objects. So for example, let's go ahead and create bucket. Okay. So for that, let me just show to you what is the current bucket state. So you see how many bucket here? 5. Okay. Same thing you can see using this command. Okay, if you want to figure out the number of buckets in your account, AWS S3, okay, and you do ls. Yeah, so you see details here. Okay, so how many buckets are there in your account? It's 5. And how do you read this AWS CLI command? You say AWS and then you specify the service. So here I'm using S3 service, but you can, if you want to do anything with respect to EC2, okay? So what you need to specify EC2. Then with EC2 also you can list all the instances in your application. You can describe your EC2 instance. So all that we'll study once we complete our EC2 session, okay? Now we want to create a new bucket. Okay, so what is the command? AWS S3. Okay, remember it's make bucket. We use this command while uploading the static content from our local machine to your Amazon account. Okay, that time whatever we did, the bucket creation, enabling the static website feature, everything we did it using command. But that time we didn't had to install the AWS CLI on our machine. We were using AWS Cloud 9 service, which is kind of a IDE, you can say, where all these things were pre-installed. Okay, then you specify S3. Okay, let me just write Amuthan. Okay, yeah, so make bucket Amuthan. So a bucket name is created. Yep. See, so this is like programmatically how you can create. Yeah. Now, what is the next command? It's like list bucket and objects. So to list the bucket, you do AWS S3 LS. But if you want to see the objects of a bucket, so what you need to do, AWS S3 LS and then the bucket name. Okay. So let's try to see the content of this object. Sorry, this bucket. Destination. Yeah. So what I need to do, AWS S3 LS S3 my destination. Let me just yeah, so you see a file which is like your object which we had added. Okay. Then what is our next command? If we want to delete the bucket, okay, so simple, like how it happens in your Mac or Windows. If something is empty, what do you have to do? Just write AWS S3. Okay, RB is for remove bucket and name of the bucket. So I'll delete the bucket which I just created, which was bucket name with Amthan. Okay, so this got deleted, right? But if you want to delete a bucket which already has object, okay, so for that, what we need to do, we need to append this dash dash 4. So it's like recursively, it would first delete all the object and then it would delete your bucket. Okay, so let's delete this bucket only, my destination JLM1. Okay, AWS S3. S3. Then what we had to do, RB S3 my destination JLM1. Okay, then course. Third, all versions in the versioning is enabled in this bucket. Let me pick something which is not having version. Okay, or let's find out, okay, if a bucket has version enabled, how we can delete it. Probably let's take this as an example to see how we can delete a bucket which has object and a versioning is enabled in that object. Okay, so how do you create delete those? Just refer to this page. It has all the commands. Yeah, so this was about delete, then move. Okay, so this command I really liked. Okay, for example, you created a bucket, okay, and you added a content to that bucket, and later you got to know, oh, now I don't need this bucket. I need to have a different bucket wherein I need to add same object. So there are two ways. Okay, just delete the source bucket and then create a destination bucket and go ahead and add same thing one by one, or just apply this command. Okay, so how do we read this command? It's like again, AWS S3 service, MV is for move. Then this first part is your source bucket and the second part is your destination bucket. So with move command, what would happen? Whatever was there in the source bucket would get transferred to your destination bucket. and your source bucket would get empty. Okay. Yeah. Same way, if you want to copy anything which you have created in your local system and you want to copy it to a specific bucket, so let's go ahead and do the second exercise. Okay, so I'll create few files on my local system and then I'll upload it to a bucket. Okay, so let's first go ahead and create a new bucket. S3 MB. Let me create bucket name as, for this time, no. Okay. Oh, this already exists. Okay, Vinod, there is a bucket named Vinod somewhere in someone's account. Yeah, so Vinod TTC. Okay, now let me just go ahead and create file. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so you see this file on my local system. Okay, now what I'll do, I'll move this file to a bucket which I created. Okay, so let's go ahead and first see the bucket. Okay, for now this is empty. If I click on this, there's nothing in this. Okay, so what I'll do, AWS S3 is the command MB, yeah, MB when text. I think I need to apply sudo, but just let me get that. Try. Let's see. This was the name, right? No. Yeah, I did. Yeah, see this got moved. Let me refresh this. Okay, now if I do same thing, uh, see, you don't see bin.txt on my local system. Okay, so this is how you can move the data from your local system. So you can move data from one bucket to another. Also, you can move data from your local system to an S3 bucket. Okay. Copy. Okay, so same is like, see, with move what is happening is, so I was little curious to understand, okay, what is the difference between move and copy command. So this is what I got. It's like move is the data from the original source would get deleted, but with copy it's like you're maintaining replicas, so the data would be there in your source uh, place as well as in your destination place. Okay. So if you want to do a copy, you can do it. So again, we'll do same thing the way we did. We'll create a file on our local system and we'll copy it to the bucket which we had created. Okay, so this time we are not going to move, but we are going to copy. Okay, and you can do vice versa also. Like if there is something on your S3, okay, and you want to copy it on your local directory, so you can do it using this command. Okay, is there any question, guys? Okay, I'll perform this.
No, all good.
Oh, okay.
Same here.
Okay, great. Okay. We'll create win2.txt. This file got created. Okay. Okay, you guys can see this file is there. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this file from my local to my AWS S3 bucket. So for that, what is the command we need to do is this. Again, I'm saying I don't have root privileges. That's why I'm using sudo. Maybe for you guys, you don't need to add a sudo. Okay. Sudo AWS S3 CP. Okay. File name, which is my win2.txt. Then the bucket name, which was no.
The name of the bucket was spelled wrongly.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. First, let's do ls. See, this file is here, and we go ahead and refresh this. You see the file which was on your local in S3 as well. Okay. See, now all this won't make sense because we're just studying the pieces. Okay. But when we'll go ahead and we'll do projects, that time all these command and all these things would make sense. Okay. There was another interesting object which purposely I left it for you guys to explore, which is a sync object. Okay, so the document which I have shared with you, go through it, and this is also one of the very interesting command which AWS provides you. Okay, so this would help you in restoring object which you have deleted or syncing. If on your local also, if you've added certain file and you have uploaded it on your destination, I mean in S3. Okay, so for example, I moved something from my local to S3 bucket, and then I went ahead and I added more content in S3 using your console, web console. Okay, so if you want to sync both of them, your local directory and your Amazon S3 bucket, so using these sync command, you can do it. So this was really interesting. Explore it, you would like it. And I have just shared the basic command for you guys to get started. Okay, it's simple. MB is for make bucket, MV is for move, CP is for copy. These command you guys would have studied while working on Linux or some other operating systems. Okay. Yep. So quickly, just let's go through the document. Okay. So as I told you, I really like Amazon's document. So they first tell you about, okay, what it is, what this command is all about. Then they'll tell you, okay, when you're now you're going to programmatically, you're going to create a bucket. So you have to ensure that the name which you give, it follows these nomenclature. Okay. So they give you a syntax, and then they give you example also. Okay. So this is for making a bucket. This is for listing a bucket and object. Okay. Yeah. Then if you want to delete any bucket, so one place where we got stuck was we were not able to delete the bucket using force command also. So we need to explore, okay, why we are not able to create, how we need to tackle the versioning. Okay. See, all this they have given you. I think recursive is what it would work for deleting all the object. I think, yeah, it had multiple objects. So try this command. I think this should work. Okay. Move. Then we studied about move command. Okay. So various variations from source to destination, from your local file to the S3 bucket, and then the vice versa from S3 bucket to your local repository. You can do everything. So all this thing would come handy. For example, one use case which I can uh, come up with is, for example, we are using S3 for storing our logs. So that time, if you want to copy the logs, okay, from S3 to your local, and then you want to debug, okay, so maybe that time you can go ahead and do the CP command. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So all these, they have variations they have given you. Okay. Yeah. So see, if you want to copy some text, yeah, from your stream to a bucket. Okay. So you can do that as well. and sync object, which I was telling you. Okay? The S3 sync command synchronizes the content of bucket and directory or the content of two buckets. Okay, so maybe you deleted something from your object from one bucket. Now you want to sync it. So these are those commands. Do try it. Uh, I'm sure you would like these commands. Okay, so they have given you multiple variation. Delete local file, which I was telling you, something you uploaded from your local in the S3 bucket, and then by mistake your local content got deleted. So now if you want to ensure that you get back your local content, so you can do copy also, move also, and then you can do the sync as well. Okay. Yeah, so frequently used option for S3. Yeah, sync is something which exclude all text file resulting in only. Yeah, so they have the concept of exclude, include as well. Okay, if you want to copy only specific file or copy everything except something. So just go through it and try stuff. Okay. There are certain stuff even I have not tried. For example, giving permissions to the bucket. See, till now we did a basic command of creating, copying, deleting. But for example, now you want to go ahead and give certain permissions. So for that, what command you have? Okay. So do you see the first command copying? Here they had given this options. Now options could be granting a permission or enabling certain things. Okay, but because for if we create a bucket using just this much, only all the default settings would get enabled, right? But if you want to enable any specific setting, for example versioning, we know by default it's unversioned, but we want to enable it. Okay, so you need to pass all those things using the options. Okay, guys. Yep. So let's quickly move to our introductory topic on EC2. Okay. And detail we'll study in the next session. Okay. Yeah. So in layman language, what exactly is your EC2, which is like Elastic Compute? But in layman language, it's like providing a user a virtual computing environment, or you can say a virtual CPU. Okay, so that is your EC2. And what are the things we need to keep in mind while creating an instance? First and foremost, the region where we are creating. So till now, what we studied, IAM, S3, all these were global services. But now, whatever we are going to study going forward, it is region dependent. Okay. So if you want to create an EC2 instance, okay. So first thing, what you need to create choose is region. So what is region in a layman language? It's a geographical area where Amazon EC2 launches instance which you create. Okay. And you don't go ahead and randomly select any region. For demo, for practice, yes, we are going ahead and selecting the region. But now, if you have your web application, you'll pick a region based on your user base. Okay. Based on if there is any compliance. Okay. Maybe your users in Europe region, they don't want your S3 to be or EC to be placed in uh, any region outside Europe. Okay, so then you have to pick a region which is very close to Europe. Okay, availability zone. Now next comes your availability zone. So if selected a region, now we need to think about the availability zone. So what is availability zone? For now, just understand it's data center. Okay, in one region there would be 2 or 3 data centers which would be insulated from each other in such a way that if something happens in one data center, there is no impact or less impact on your application because you're replicating everything in multiple availability zone. Okay. Next option which you have to think about when it comes to EC2 services, instance type. Okay. So we'll study what is instance type. Okay. So you need to see based on your requirement. Okay. If your application is very small, okay, then you can go for T2 instance type. Okay. But if your application requires lots of computation, then there would be another instance type. If your application deals with lots of video or graphics, So based on your requirement, you will choose the instance type. Okay. There's one more thing which I've missed here. Probably I would have covered later. It's like storage. So you have to think about the storage also. Oh, you've taken CPU. Okay. But you have to think about the storage. So do you want a separate storage? For that, you'll have S3. Okay. You can have S3 for storing data, or you want something which is very similar to your network drive. So you'll use a different storage class. Okay. And you've selected the instance, you've selected the storage, okay, as per your requirement, but you have to think about the purchasing option as well, right? Maybe I'm a very small startup, or I'm creating some POC for my learning, okay? So that time I can't go ahead and pick dedicated host or dedicated instance, okay? I need to choose a option, purchasing option as per my requirement. So the most known is your on demand, which is, it is like pay as you go, pay by the second, as much you use, you'll pay. Okay. Saving plans. Okay. There's another purchasing option wherein you say that you tell about your usage. Okay. I'm going to use this much for next 1 to 3 years. Okay. So you have a consistent amount of storage, you'll go for saving plans. Then there are reserved instances. Okay. They reduce your Amazon EC2 cost by making a commitment to a consistent instance. Yeah. So again, it's like, okay, you are going to use this for next 3 years. Okay. So Amazon, it promotes that you use more of their services. Okay. So whenever you go for a longer plan, that time there would be savings. There would be some cost reduction. Okay. Spot instant, it is request unused E2. Yeah. So this is also very nice. It's like uh, you are not so biased towards availability of certain thing for 24/7. Okay, it's like okay, I'm doing some my R&D, and if that instance gets deleted, terminated, or somebody else also takes it, I am not bothered. Okay, so that time you can go for spot instances where you do bidding and all. So whosoever bid is good, person gets that instance. But what is the disadvantage with this spot instances? Some, for example, Vinod was using EC2 instance, which he had taken using spot purchasing option. Now Amuthan comes and he gives the better bid. Okay. So that time what would happen? Vinod would get a very short notification. He won't be able to create the backup, etc. And this instance would be taken from him. Okay. So be very careful while choosing these purchasing options. Okay. Then you have got dedicated host, wherein you see that you, it's like kind of saying, I want this dedicated machine for my work only. Okay, you're not going to have instance of any other user in this particular host. Okay. Then dedicated instance. Okay, this is like, okay, you're taking a particular instance. Then capacity reservation, reserve capacity for your EC2 instance in specific availability zone for any duration. Okay. So when I had started studying about Amazon, that time I knew only about on demand. I knew about spot instance and reserved instance. But while preparing for this webinar, I learned about these things also. So you see, Amazon is also adding new things. It wants all the user base on their platform. Okay. Now comes question. Okay, which instance type should I pick? Okay, so there are so many instance type, but I don't know which to pick. Okay. So how do you find it out? So they give you series. Okay, like T2 series is for web servers and small DBs. Okay. Memory optimized is like R4, X1, Z18. I'll show you in the console all these instance type. And general brief about all these, like when we say compute optimized, so this is ideal for compute bound application that benefit from high performance processor. Okay, so when performance, you want to process something very quickly. Okay. Memory optimized, fast performance for workloads. Storage optimized. So you see these 5 categories. So in these 5 categories, there would be series: T2 micro, T2 mini. Okay. So based on what you want to do, you can pick instance accordingly. Yeah, and then storage. Okay, so now I went for a good purchasing option, which is as per my requirement. I've picked instance type. I've got a instance running. Now we have to think about storage also. Like you're doing some compute, there would be some storage involved. So you've got 4 kind of storage options available to you, which is instance storage. So I'll show you right now. I'm going to create one EC2 instance. You will see that by default, there would be, I think, 8 GB of data which you get. Okay. So that is your instance storage. So what happened the moment I'll terminate that instance, the storage would go. Okay. Then there is block storage. So it's like a network hard drive that persists separately. So again, while creating a EC2 instance, you'll have this instance storage, plus you can add a block storage as well. Okay. So what happened, I created one instance for R&D. I was just playing with for block storage. I was trying to understand, okay, what is block storage, etc. And I stopped my instance thinking that, okay, now I have stopped my instance, I won't get charged. But when I opened my system after a few days, I saw that I was being charged. Okay, it was, I think, 200, 300 rupees. And when I found out the reason why I was being charged, it was because I had used the block storage. Okay, so with instant storage, I think when you stop, you won't get charged, or by default also you don't get charged because they give you 8 GB of data. But other than that, if you use something, you will be charged for it. So if you also go use EBS, make sure you delete the EBS as well. Okay, object storage, so S3 and Glacier, and file storage. Yeah, so a managed network file system that can be shared across multiple EC. So if you want to share something, okay, you've created you have EC2 instances in multiple availability zone, okay, and you want to share certain things. So for that, you can use elastic storage. Okay, elastic file storage. Yeah. So I think let's do a lab. So in lab, I'll cover instance type. I'll cover the storage purchasing option. I'm going for P2 micro, which is a free tier. Okay. And yeah, we're above time. So this won't take a lot of time. I'll try to close everything as soon as I can. Yeah. So now I'll EC2. See, I was telling you about the elastic block storage. We'll study about these in more detail, but just get yourself familiarized. Okay, what all we are doing. You have instances, you have instance type, launch template. I'll tell you when we'll come to it. Okay. Then there's something like AMI. So when we create an instance, right? So there is a AMI. Okay. AMI considered something for now is a basic setting. Like you are purchasing one, or you're creating a EC2 instance for a Linux machine. So the Linux machine should have certain things installed in it. Okay, so all this are handled through AMI. Even you can create a AMI for storage. You can have volume snapshot. I'll tell you what is snapshot. Now you've created your EC2 instance, right? Then you have to think about firewall, all these things, right? When you do on-premise setup. Okay, so that is handled using network and security. Okay, then elastic IP. So what is this elastic IP? Whenever you create a new instance, okay, or you stop, terminate, okay. So every time I had done a setup for Jenkins for my one of the POCs, okay, and I had to share that URL. So every time I used to stop, terminate, create a new IP I used to get, right? So I had to make sure that the IP address should be fixed, because every time you're not going to give new IP address, okay? So you can choose this elastic IP, whereas you are saying I want a fixed IP address. Load balancer, auto scaling, yeah. So we'll come to it later. So let's go ahead and create one instance. Okay, so I'll go ahead, launch instance. please choose the free tier only, else you'll be charged. Okay. So right now we are just practicing. Okay. So the AMI, this is the AMI. Okay. So all what all are there in this image, it would tell you, okay, this has GCC, I mean for garbage like 7.3, all these things are by default available in this machine. You can go ahead and update also, you can go ahead and install certain things as well, but this is the minimum which it is giving you. Okay. So oh, yeah. So we studied about instance type, right? So since it's T2 micro, so you'll see only T2 CDs. Okay, you'll have T2 nano, micro, small. So in all this, which is free, it's T2 micro. So that's why I've selected T2 micro only. And you see memory, how much memory, default memory which you get. Okay. Then what kind of instance storage you can have, EBS. Yeah. Then is it optimized, EBS optimized available? Yeah, we'll study network performance, IPv support. So all these things you can see here. Okay. Let's go ahead and launch it. For now, it is open just for 2020 instance detail. This is the detail about your instance. Some of them even I don't know what are those. Okay. Storage for now, see the default storage which we have got, it is 8 GB. Okay. So if I'll terminate this, instance, even this, whatever I have saved would get deleted. Okay. Launch. Yeah, so I've created the instance, but if I want to access my instance, for that you need to provide your access key. So you can choose from existing key pair or you can create one. So let's create a new, I'll say etc. Oh, this is new option which I'm seeing, RSA, and okay. Download the key pair. This is your instance ID. Now your state is in pending. Okay. So you want the IP address, so you can get it. This is your public IP address, private IP address. For security, for now, I haven't enabled any inbound and outbound rule. It's by default, it's 22. Okay. Storage, I've used the instance storage only. I haven't added any EBS storage. Okay. Again, all these things we haven't done. So this is how you launch instance. Okay. So that's it for today's session. I'll quickly revise and share whatever I have with me. I think I have done replication I gave you, installation I gave you, bucket creation. Yeah. So this is just about 15th anniversary of EC2 instance. And this is purchasing option. You want to know what all purchasing options we have. Okay. Yes. And I think, yeah, we are done. Just let's revise whatever we covered in next 2 minutes. So we did a recap wherein we talked about S3 versioning, storage classes, and life cycle management. And in today's session, we did one exercise on cross-region replication, and we understood when cross-region replication is useful. Then we did a setup. Okay, so I gave you a documentation following which you can do a setup of AWS CLI on your machine. And then using CLI command, we created a bucket, we deleted a bucket, we copied the content from our local to S3 bucket. Okay. And finally, we did an overview of EC2 instance. This is the topic which we'll cover in detail in our part 7. So when it comes to EC2, the things which you need to take in mind is purchasing option, your storage, Okay, instance type, what kind of instance type you are going to select. So everything would depend upon your requirement. This guys, so I am done. I think we went past 12:30. So apologies for that. I had a lot of things to cover today.
I
Any
don't
questions?
think you need to apologize for anything. I was enjoying the class, so I didn't want to disturb you. Thank you so much, Yoti. I think today's session has been very good as usual. Guys, do you have any question or comment or review for Yoti before we close the class? I think I learned so much today. And I was talking to the guy I was telling you about
Okay.
before we start. So he's going to be attending from next class as well, because I think you'll find this very useful. So thank you very much, guys. This has been wonderful as usual. And I think we can say that all of us have learned something today. So if there are no questions, we would end this session today and we'll see you in the next class. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye and have a good day.